Do you want to know how to invest in real estate in Boulder? Well, that's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now. Hey everybody, Barney Villa here, Realtor with Remax of Boulder here in Boulder, Colorado. If this is your first time on my channel, make sure to subscribe because I post content weekly on all things real estate in Boulder, and you're not going to want to miss it. Today, we're talking about how to invest in real estate in Boulder. Whether this is your first investment property or your 10th, you're going to want to know my top 5 tips on how to invest in real estate in Boulder, Colorado. Tip number 1 is who should invest in real estate in Boulder, Colorado. And my number 1 person is definitely someone who has a kid. If you have a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, or 7-year-old, just imagine investing property now and using it as a rental property, and when they're 18, being able to use that appreciation to pay for college. The second type of person who should invest in real estate in Boulder is someone who actually has a child going to CU. Rather than letting them rent for 4 years, if you owned a property and allowed them to live in it, maybe got some of their friends to pay rent in the other bedroom, you're going to see a considerable amount of appreciation over the 4 years that may even pay for college. The third type of person who should invest in real estate in Boulder is definitely someone who is very weary of the stock market and crypto. We have definitely been deemed number 1 in the country for the stable real estate economy. So investing now over the next few years, you're guaranteed a ton of appreciation. Tip number 2 is to organize your down payment and secure financing before you even look at properties. That way, you can know what numbers you're working with and make a confident decision once you're there. So for the down payment, maybe you've got $100 grand burning a hole in your pocket that's not making you any money in a savings account and should be put in an investment property that will guarantee appreciation of that money over the next few years, however long you choose to invest in. Another way is actually to pull a HELOC and take the equity out of your current home and put that money to work for you going forward into the future rather than just sitting and not making you any money. Tip number 3 is to decide what kind of property you want to invest in. So simply enough, we can talk about residential versus commercial, but for this conversation, we're going to stick to residential. So we like to talk about two different types of things. You can either do a fix and flip, which is usually a 6 months and a short period duration. I don't really recommend that here in Colorado unless you own your own construction crew because the margins are very small because of how much appreciation, how much demand is happening for these houses. So there's going to be a lot of high competition around fix and flips. In Boulder, I definitely recommend fix and holds. So if you don't own a property right now and you do want to get into something that is a little more dilapidated and you want to take the time over the next 5, 6, 7 years to fix it up, you're going to see a ton of appreciation that way. And the third type is definitely to just have a rental property. So to be able to do long-term rentals is what I recommend. Airbnbs is almost a completely different conversation, but simply enough, again, you've got fix and flip, fix and holds, and then you've got long-term rentals, which I think have the best potential in this market, unless you're going to do a fix and holds or even a scrape where you buy dirt, scrape the house, and then build a brand new property on top of it. Now, you have a lot to choose from there, so I definitely recommend doing some research and finding which one really like you feel comfortable doing, because each one of these takes a completely different strategy. And moving forward, again, I would definitely recommend a long-term rental or even a fix and hold. Tip number 4 is to have a strategy. Now, when investing in your first long-term hold that's going to be a rental property, I recommend taking a look at 3 specific numbers. Now, we can talk about cap rates, we can talk about ROI, but for right now, let's just talk about 3 main pieces of criteria. 1, easy enough, cash flow. Cash flow is basically like, let's say, so your mortgage is going to be $1,800 a month, and then you can rent the property for $2,200 a month. You'll have $200 a month in cash flow. Okay. The second thing you're going to want to look for is potential equity in the property. So let's say a property is actually valued at $900,000 and you can acquire the property for $800,000. We would say that you have about $100,000 worth of equity already in that property. The third thing that you want to take a look at is appreciation, right? So year over year, especially here in Boulder, we've seen easily 5% or greater, especially over 2021, we saw upwards of 30%. So a strategy to work with this, sometimes it's something we call 30, 30, and 30. So let's say we're looking for specifically $300 worth a month in cash flow. We're looking for maybe at least 30% equity and then 30% appreciation over the next 4 or 5 years, or however long you decide to hold the property. And I always tell my clients, if you can get 2 out of those 3, let's say you've nailed the cash flow and you've nailed a little bit of equity, but you're not seeing as much appreciation as you would like in the neighborhood that we're in, or you would see a ton of appreciation in the neighborhood we're in. You see you get enough equity that really satisfies your requirements, but let's say it's not cash flowing, right? So again, all you need to look for is 2 out of those 3. I definitely have a number of investors who would even sacrifice a little bit of cash flow, especially if they're getting equity and especially if there's appreciation, like everybody knows that we're seeing here in Boulder, Colorado. So once you come up with a formula like the 30-30-30, or maybe it's 20-20-20, and you figure out what you're comfortable with, this can help you look at properties very quickly and make really great decisions about where to invest and what to invest in. And tip number 5 is going to be to choose a realtor with investment knowledge and someone who works with investors. Because, it's easy enough to say that not all realtors are created equal, but many of us don't really dive into that investment portion side of it. So if you are going to choose to invest here in Boulder, Colorado, you're definitely going to want a real estate agent that's very savvy in this department that can really help you find the best deal to fit your budget and your lifestyle to help your dreams come true. So now that you've learned how to invest in real estate in Boulder, my bonus tip for you is to check out my next video on how to actually buy a house in Colorado, where I teach you about negotiations, especially in a multiple offer scenario in this highly competitive market here in Boulder, Colorado. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up, drop a comment if you've even used any of these tips. I love to know, and share it with a friend, and make sure to subscribe because I post content weekly and you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.